In 1978, Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn, a man beloved by America's intellectual elite and praised by the media, stood before a Harvard audience to deliver a commencement speech. It was a moment of immense anticipation. Solzhenitsyn, the Nobel Prize-winning author who had courageously denounced Soviet oppression, was expected to offer a message of hope for the West. But what he delivered that day shocked the world, and, in many ways, sealed his fate as an outcast. His message was clear: the West was on a path of moral decline, and only a return to moral strength could prevent its fall. Solzhenitsyn's bold critique of the West. At the time of his speech, Solzhenitsyn was hailed as a hero, a symbol of resistance against the totalitarian regime of the Soviet Union. But on that day at Harvard, instead of reaffirming the Western ideals that many believed him to champion, he delivered a scathing critique. His message wasn't about the failures of communism, it was about the failures of the West. In his address, Solzhenitsyn warned of the moral decay in the West, highlighting a deep decline in courage. To him, this was the most striking feature of modern Western society, the pervasive fear to stand up for what is right. He argued that courage, once the backbone of Western civilization, had withered in the face of comfort and extreme individualism. The quest for safety and well-being had become so dominant that it stifled the ability to confront difficult truths or fight for greater causes. To Solzhenitsyn, this was a warning sign of a society in decline. The dangers of extreme individualism. Solzhenitsyn also pointed to the rise of extreme individualism in the West, where the defense of personal rights had gone so far that it left society defenseless against moral decay. In his view, the obsession with individual freedoms had reached such extremes that it eroded collective responsibility. To illustrate this, Solzhenitsyn shared letters from highly intelligent individuals, people who could inspire change and renewal in their communities, but who remained unheard.
Why?
Because the media and society at large weren't interested. These voices of reason were drowned out by a culture more concerned with entertainment and instant gratification than meaningful progress. A society without moral direction. Solzhenitsyn's speech wasn't just a critique of individualism, it was an indictment of a society that had lost its moral compass. He couldn't, in good conscience, recommend the West as a model for his own country. In fact, he argued that while the West was growing weaker, the East, despite its oppression, was becoming stronger in spirit. He lamented the decline of great statesmen, the decadence of art, and the lack of meaningful leadership in the West. To Solzhenitsyn, these were all signs of a perishing society, one that had forgotten the moral criteria that once guided it through difficult times. The role of faith and morality in freedom. Solzhenitsyn's speech reminded the audience that when America was founded, human rights were granted because man was seen as a creation of God. Freedom was not absolute. It was conditional upon the assumption of religious responsibility. This moral foundation was essential in maintaining a balanced and free society. But as the West pursued technological advancement and material progress, it had gradually forgotten this foundation. Solzhenitsyn argued that no technological achievements, no matter how impressive, could redeem the 20th century's moral poverty. Without a sense of higher purpose, the West's achievements would remain hollow. The West's misunderstanding of communism. In one of the most surprising parts of his speech, Solzhenitsyn criticized Western intellectuals for their continued fascination with communism. In his words, "Communism has suffered a complete ideological defeat in the East. It is zero and less than zero." Yet, despite its clear failures, many in the West still viewed it with interest, even empathy. This, to Solzhenitsyn, was baffling. Communism had not only failed to deliver on its promises of happiness and equality, but it had also led to the destruction of millions of lives. He warned that by continuing to flirt with socialism, the West was sowing the seeds of its own destruction. A call for moral renewal. Despite the bleakness of his warnings, Solzhenitsyn didn't leave his audience without hope. He called for a renewal of moral courage, a return to the values that had once made the West great. He emphasized that no matter how powerful the West's weapons were, they were useless without willpower and moral strength. In a state of psychological weakness, even the strongest military would collapse. Solzhenitsyn argued that the West needed to rediscover its spiritual roots. Freedom was only possible if it was tied to responsibility. It wasn't enough to pursue progress for progress's sake. There had to be a higher purpose guiding that progress. The cost of truth. Solzhenitsyn knew that delivering this speech would be professional suicide. He understood that his critique of the West would alienate the very people who once praised him. But he believed that the truth needed to be told, no matter the cost. His speech remains a powerful reminder that societies cannot survive without moral direction. Progress without purpose is hollow, and freedom without responsibility leads to ruin. If you found this breakdown of Solzhenitsyn's speech insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content on history, philosophy, and culture. Thank you for watching, and remember, true freedom comes from responsibility.